There's like a sense of me that's localized in the head, like the thinker of thought specifically, and the seer of objects. And I've been looking at that. It's almost like there's like a tension behind the eyes, and something going on in like the center of the skull. And yeah, that's kind of what I've been looking at, while I've been watching your video. Um, yeah, and I was wondering if we could possibly explore that further.
Yeah, sure. It's really cool because the person that's looking at it is also part of a functioning. So every time you think about anything, every time
Mm.
you speak about anything, imagine something, feel something, it's always being experienced by consciousness. But that cannot be seen by anything you think, feel, hear, or see, or smell. All of that's being seen. So your thoughts now are being seen, but you cannot see them being seen because every part of you is being seen. So you know
Mm.
your thoughts, right? You know that you know them. There's a consciousness of your thoughts. I'm asked it, so that's a
Yes.
question. So there's a
Oh.
consciousness of your thoughts. So and what is it that's conscious of your thoughts?
It's awareness.
So what can happen in your mind is you can think that you can see awareness, but you never can by any thought or any perspective of the human. Everything is being seen. So I call it consciousness rather than awareness. I call it the big consciousness. So because I know that everyone calls it big different things. Some people call it awareness, but you can call it awareness. But just so you know that when I say consciousness, that's my terminology. So
Okay. Yeah, we can use that.
the big consciousness is um, is looking at everything now. So you're sitting on a seat, I presume, and you can feel that, and there is something that's conscious of it.
Mm.
That's appearing in consciousness. It's not unconscious that you're sitting on a seat. It's conscious. You can't. The thought might not be present, but the feeling is there, or the room. So the room now is appearing, and there is a consciousness of it. There is thoughts interpreting the room that say it's a big room or a small room or a nice room, or I like it or I don't like it. And there's something that's conscious of those thoughts and conscious of that room instantaneously. And then there's another part of your mind, the personal awareness, and a thinking part which can analyze that and which can also move the lens. So you can put your attention on your thoughts or put your attention on the room. So you can put your attention on thoughts that say, I don't like this room, and then you can put your attention back into the room. But there's something that's conscious of that as well. And this consciousness never moves and is always present. And you don't have to do anything to be conscious. It's something that happens. You never have to you never wake up in the morning and go, okay, I'm unconscious, I need to be conscious now. It's not something you turn on. Now, some people call the unconscious, like in Freudian terms, so we're not talking in that way. So there is an unconscious that's happening that's making you behave the way you do, but we're talking about big consciousness. So you never switch that big consciousness on. You don't wake up and say, I'm unconscious, because what would unconscious look like? And say, I'm going to switch the consciousness on, and I'm choosing to do that. The consciousness is just always there and happening and free and instant. It doesn't take any time to be conscious of this room. It happens instantly. It's timeless. The even more impressive thing about consciousness is it's actually not even located. So there isn't actually a consciousness, because consciousness implies distance, and there is no distance. There is actually only everything happening, and everything is conscious instantly. So it's not even that there is a consciousness looking through your body. There is everything which is conscious, and everything is located in all places. So your consciousness is actually everywhere at the same time now. It's just that it's looking it's giving the appearance that it's looking through a form, but actually there is consciousness appearing everywhere. So it's not something that's looking through your form at the room. There is consciousness which is already in all things. It's in the sound of my voice, it's in the room, it's in the seat, it's in the feeling of the seat, it's in the sounds of my voice. It's not even that you are conscious of it and it's taking time for my voice to come to your ears. There is instantaneous consciousness happening. In the appearance of the dream, it might take time for my sound to go to your ears, but the consciousness is instantaneous. Always. And that's who you are.
So, okay, you made an interesting differentiation between consciousness and a personal consciousness.
Personal awareness, I call it. So it's not that I'm being pedantic about words. I really don't care about words, but it's just because so many teachers use different terminologies. I just try to stick to my terminologies.
Yeah, no, yeah, of course.
I call it personal awareness, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that's, so is that something that has to, maybe, I think maybe there's like a tendency or a desire to kind of change that personal sense of consciousness as well.
Yeah, and some people think that the personal consciousness is the big consciousness, especially at first, because you can see the personal consciousness. But the personal consciousness is actually like the camera. And consciousness is actually looking through the camera. So if you're talking about it in terms of putting on a virtual reality headset, that the personal awareness would in that analogy be the VR that you put on. So it's actually the personal awareness is the camera, and the camera can move its focus. So you can move your focus now onto the sound of my voice, or you can move your focus into your big toe, and that's not big consciousness. Consciousness is aware of that. You can move the personal awareness. So sometimes sometimes people at the beginning think that the personal awareness is the big consciousness, and what they do is they do a practice, which I recommend actually, of moving their attention into that personal awareness. So what you do is, say if your thinking mind is drifting off thinking about, or they move the lens to this present moment. It can be different ways. So say if your thinking mind keeps moving away, then you keep pulling your thinking mind back to the personal consciousness, or you keep pulling the personal consciousness back to this present moment. So say if you keep drifting off thinking about an ex-lover, or you drift off looking at the tree out there and then you begin to think about how beautiful it is, then you pull that personal awareness back to what's actually happening. So the sensation in the body, the breath, the sights around. You pull the personal awareness back to the present moment. The other thing that people do is they pull the thinking mind back to the personal awareness. So the thinking mind drifts off, and then you pull it back to the personal awareness, so the personal lens. But actually, big consciousness is aware of all of that. It's conscious of everything. It knows all of that happening instantaneous. So all that dance is happening inside consciousness. So the movement of the lens to focus on my voice, or the movement of the lens to focus on the TV, is being witnessed by who you are, and that who you are never moves. And you can never see the witness, you can never see the big consciousness. The big consciousness is the seer, and it's nothing, not a thing, and all things. And it also comes with this sense of being alive, this sense of aliveness, that this is the I am.
So, and I know that this is where kind of words don't really words are a bit clumsy when we start talking about something that can't be described, but you do say you do mention a sense of that big consciousness. Does that translate into the personal consciousness somehow? Is there like a feeling of, oh, here it is, of I don't know, maybe I'm looking for like a discovery, looking for a confirmation that, oh, this is the big consciousness.
No, because you can't find it with the mind. So right now you're thinking that, and the big consciousness is looking at it, and you can sense that, but you can't think about it. There's a knowing of what's being talked about there, but you can't think about it. So your thoughts arising now are being watched by something that cannot be looked at. You can never look at consciousness. You can't turn around and look at it, because who would look at it? But you, the one that wants to turn around and look at it, is being looked at.
Yeah, so what's my problem?
Your problem is that you've got an energy of seeking to look for it. So there's a part of you which doesn't feel like it's at home and wants to arrive at home.
Yes.
And that's the problem. So that this energy wants to get there, and it believes that it can get there. You believe you can get there, but everything about you is being witnessed and being watched by a stillness that's here. So you can't arrive at it, and this is very frustrating for that person. But who you are is watching that person. Who you truly are is watching that person. So the person that said, is being watched, and that's who you are. That's the freedom. So what you can do is you can look at the feelings that are arising in you and what feelings are rising in you at the moment. I can't guess, but I'll just say something just to give us an example. So maybe there's a slight feeling of agitation and frustration. So what you can do on the human level is you can become aware of that feeling, become aware of this energy that wants to go to the next moment and the energy that feels frustrated. So this is the personal awareness, becoming aware of that. Acknowledge that feeling in that body, acknowledge that seeking energy in the body, and then come back to that natural want. So your natural want underneath that is to, I'm not sure, but let's say it wants peace or it wants home. And when you say that, acknowledge that you're totally allowed that, and it should begin to relax your seeking energy. You're totally allowed to be at peace and to be at home. You just go through those stages. So you first of all admit what you feel, then you acknowledge where you feel it. Then you ask, what is it I want? I want to get home, I want peace. And you say, I am allowed that. I am allowed to be at home and I'm allowed to feel peace. And that might relax that seeking energy to an extent. And notice all of that is being watched by freedom, by this infinite freedom. So basically what I talked you through is the human surrendering a little bit to what it is. This person getting used to what's actually happening rather than trying to seek for something in time of what's happening, trying to run after something in time. So what I would assume would happen with you is, rather than uncomfortable feelings, is more compulsive thinking. So just notice if there's compulsive thinking happening. Notice that there's a sense of discomfort in the body, that you want to arrive somewhere. Notice that you believe that you're going to arrive somewhere. And then what is it you want? I want peace, I want to feel at home. And you're totally allowed peace and to feel at home. And then in that, there is this consciousness right here, this I am right here. And you can move your attention back to this feeling of I am, which is love. But it's the person that's doing that, so it's the separate person that's doing that. But it can keep moving its attention back to I am, this is, as a practice to try and settle it.
I think there's looking in there. I think there's just a kind of a deep sense of distrust. That I don't know, that maybe I need to help it along, or that I need to help God along somehow, or
Yeah, it's quite sweet. But you named it correctly. It is a sense of distrust. So you're acting out of a sense of not trusting life, and that's a lie, because you are life, and life is absolutely trustworthy. So you're acting out a lie. So that will create tension in your body, because you're acting by something that's not true. But you've got to control life because life isn't trustworthy. That's very stressful. And that can't be what life is. What life is infinite possibilities and wonder. All you have to do is acknowledge what you want and it will bring it forward. What it wants in a positive way, not in a lacking way. I want peace and freedom, and you can feel what the positive wants are, what the natural wants are. Because they feel nice, they feel expansive. Not the needing, seeking ones. I need to get this because I have to control life. Life will let me down. Life will do something bad if I don't control it. Life will bite me in the ass if I don't capture it before it does something bad. This is the way most people live their life, and this isn't true. This is a lie. There's not a monster out there that's going to get you. The monster is leaving home. That's always been what the monster feels like, is stepping away from home. And as soon as you step away from home, you've got this separate life that can potentially kill you, this separate life that you've got to control.
Yeah, a lot of what's coming up is, like you're talking about trusting life, and there's just a lot of past history that's telling me that, life is not trustworthy, that life has let me down consistently, you know.
The reason it's let you down is because on the human level, you were asking for that. I know that sounds really new agey and really far out there, but it's, if you keep walking around distrusting life, then life is going to keep presenting distrust. If you keep thinking about the colour blue, everywhere you go you'll begin to see the colour blue. If you keep thinking about the number 22, everywhere you go you'll begin to see number 22. If you keep focusing on being a victim, then you'll keep seeing the abuser. It's the way this life works. It's not that it's against you, it's just that life has been giving you what you wanted, and what you wanted was to see that life was untrustworthy. You weren't conscious that's what you're wanting, but that's what your energy was pulling forward towards you. You kept saying it's not trustworthy, and you kept looking for proof until life showed you proof.
I see that energy. Well, at least,
And it's very attractive, so it's very attractive to your mind, so your mind will energetically want to keep pulling towards that life's untrustworthy. You'll feel this attraction towards it, that negativity, because it actually feels that if you think already life's untrustworthy, then in some way you're protecting yourself. You're actually making it untrustworthy. Imagine if you totally trusted life. You totally trusted everything that happened. How different your life would be. Even if you trusted everything. So if it took away a leg, if it took away an arm, if it took away your lover, if it took away your mother or father, but you totally trusted it. You knew that it was in line. Imagine how different life would be. If you don't trust it, all those events will be reason as to why life isn't trustworthy. Life isn't trustworthy. See, it took away my leg, it took away my parents, it took away my lover. See, it's untrustworthy. You cannot trust it. I have to protect myself. And then that's the experience you have. What do you really want? What do you truly want?
I want to be free from this. This, yeah, I think deep down I know that this isn't working. This,
Yeah,
this untrustworthy, this not
yeah,
trusting life.
yeah, yeah. And so do you need to keep focusing on that's what you want, to be free. So as those thoughts come up, acknowledging them for what they are, and it's not true, letting them pass through, not acting from that place, not jumping to action every time that agitation of distrust comes up. See, it's not true, it's not true. Even if somebody walks all over you and stamps on your heart, you don't let the thoughts come in and say that something bad happened, that life is untrustworthy. You say, this was a really valuable lesson. Thank you, life. I totally trust you, I totally surrender to you.
And it's true, you know. I mean, yeah, just looking at all the things that's happened, you know, that there has been benefit to, you know, even the so-called negative stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
There really isn't negative stuff when you really look at life deeply. And there really isn't positive stuff. The way that life works is this movement, and in this movement you have growth and you have destruction, and they're two sides of one coin. Without destruction you cannot have growth. Without growth you cannot have destruction. And they're actually best friends. And when you really begin to see that, when you really watch nature and you really watch life, and you really begin to notice that, you realize there isn't really good and bad, there isn't really positive and negative. There is this dance happening, and in order for this dance to happen, you always have to have both sides of the coin. And one comes with the other. And that's nothing to be afraid of. What brings you fear about it is the neural pathways that you grow, the thought processes that you grow to try to avoid it. And then there's lots of discomfort that comes, and you're running away from this darkness that you fear in the past and trying to avoid this darkness that's in the future. But the darkness isn't in the past and future. It doesn't work like that. The darkness is part of the light, and the light is part of the darkness. They come together. And it's the embracing of that, the surrender to the appearances of duality in this world, that lead you to non-duality, to seeing that it's not a divided reality. There is no such thing as bad. If there was something that was bad and there was something that was good, that would imply that it's true, there is duality, there is separation. It's about total surrender into this. And in this there is no opposite. You can't surrender into this when you fear life, when you're afraid that this badness will catch up with you. You're afraid that something will happen and you've got to protect yourself.
I feel my protective instincts coming up, like protecting myself from what you're saying. It's
Don't worry, you can listen to it back later.
okay.
You can have a second go.
That might be useful. Um, but no, I feel like something's really shifting right now. Yeah, just something profound in the notion that there is no positive, no negative. Um, it's a different way of looking at things.
It's all to do with the way that we've compartmentalized things, because we've compartmentalized, say, death, and we think there is this end, but there isn't a death, there isn't a birth. There is this change that happens. So when one thing, what we call death, is happening, there is also growth simultaneously happening. This is all the time happening in everything. And we don't know the effects of anything. We just know what is. And we surrender to that. The person is fighting it, the separate person is fighting it. It's trying to control life with what it knows, with what it imagines, and it can't. So it's just surrendering to this, that energy which is holding on to the person, holding on to time. It doesn't mean that you become a total passive character. This isn't what's being talked about. It's this energy of the person that's in between the consciousness, the empty looking, and the character, and saying, this is who I am. This collapse, and then action happens for no one, looking happens for no one, speaking happens for no one, and then the person does its dance. The person is angry, sad, happy, joyful, fearful, but it belongs to no one. It's innocent.
I feel like a part of me is dying.
You can let it go. You can let everything go. Everything that you think you have to hold on to or protect, you don't have to do it. You only have to follow love. That's it. That's the only instruction. Just follow love. It's not even someone separate that follows love. It's just allow love to act. You can let it all go, this life. Your mother, your father, your sisters, your brothers, your children. Let it all go and it will happen. Life will take over. Give it the reins back. And it will happen exactly how it's going to happen. It's like Jesus on the cross, totally surrendering to God's will. There's nothing for you here but a world of suffering, where people are trying to fight, where people are lost in thought and their own daydreams.
I just don't know what's on the other side, you know?
It's love. You don't need to know. Love is infinite possibilities. That's the beauty of it. It's radical. It's free. It's mysterious. You don't need to know.
Still feel like a person.
Sorry?
I said I still feel like a person. um, I don't know. Yeah. Still looking for a practice. Still looking for a.
You can, if you're still looking for practice, just do the acknowledging the feelings, seeing they're not true, and then moving the attention back to I am, to present. You know,
Right.
like that practice I told you at the beginning, where you see it's not true, see what you want, say you're allowed that, and then move your attention back to present.
Okay. I'll let that run its course then.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the chat.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to speak with you.
All right, you too. Take care.
Thanks, bye. I need a drink. I ran out of drink. And when you're talking as much as I do, your mouth needs a drink. So I'm going to get a drink.